Hi and welcome back. Now we're going to do the same thing with a modal display as we did with the navigation display of a new interface controller in the previous demo. So what I've got is I've added a new WK interface controller class. I have named it new interface controller. I have used the class new interface controller, I should say. I have a new interface controller class over here, so this matches this class that I've added over here. And then also, I've set its identifier to new. We've done exactly the same thing to this point that we did before. In fact, even more, I've got a label in my original interface, my interface controller class. I've got a label in my new interface controller, and I have a button that I'm going to use to present this interface as a modal interface. And that's the difference. So in my controllers, I've done the same thing. I've got label display and button present in this case. I've set up a new string here to send to, but I haven't actually presented the modal controller yet. In init, I have gone ahead and set my label display text to hello here. In my new interface controller, I have a label new, and I'm going to get a string out of the context and then set that context as string, set the text to whatever that string says, and then set the title here to modal. I have gone ahead and wired up my controls. So the new scene, the label new is wired to the label in the new scene. And then in my original interface controller scene, I have wired up both the outlet for the display, the label, and the action method button present to the button. So now let's see how to present this modally rather than pushing it in a navigation manner. And the way I do that is in my button present here, now that I've got my string, and I've also got a name which is set as the identifier of the new controller, rather than calling push controller with name, I will call present controller with name. My name is whatever I set the identifier of the new controller as, in this case, new, and the context is going to be the new string that I just created. And that string will say NEW exclamation point, just like this. So now this will present that modally rather than pushing it. So what's the difference? Well, let's go ahead and run it and see. Okay, here's hello coming from the interface controller from init, initializing the label here. When I push the button, notice what happens. A modal interface comes up from the bottom. The title, if we don't set the title, this will say cancel. This label has been set to new from the context when we presented the new controller. And if I click on this, which would say cancel by default, it will cancel the control. So now let's go ahead and look at it again. The modal interface will come up from the bottom, and it did. And now we saw very rapidly it say cancel, but then it was replaced with modal. If we click on this, it will dismiss this controller. Thank you very much.